Hey everyone, my name's IceshadeComets, and it's no secret that I've loved the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise that has been running for over 20 years. With Konami finally taking an interest in digital titles again, I decided that I myself wanted to go back to Yu-Gi-Oh's deep 20-year history and go over each video game that Konami has released over the years. This is a new series I'm going to be calling Road to Master Duel, and today we'll be going over Konami's first Yu-Gi-Oh video game, released only in Japan, Yu-Gi-Oh Monster Capsule Breed and Battle. Released on July 23, 1998, Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster Capsule Breed and Battle was released in Japan on the PlayStation 1. This game was heavily based on the rules of Capsule Monster Chess from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga and the Toei anime, otherwise dubbed Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0. As the predecessor to the well-known Capsule Monsters, Capsule Monster Chess was an altered version of chess, with the game taking inspiration from the classic novelty still living today. In Season 0, the rules of Capsule Monster Chess were simple. Each player gets 5 Capsule Monsters, or Capamon for short, on their side of the field, with each Capamon being dispensed to each player at random by a machine or from their own collection. After that, each player pits their own monsters against each other in a game of monster chess, and the player who defeats all their opponent's monsters first wins the game. The first ever game of Capsule Monster Chess was featured in Weekly Shonen Jump 1997, issue number 15, otherwise known as Duel 24, Capsule Monster Chess. In this chapter, little Yugi arrives at a candy shop on his way home from school. There seems to be a buzz by the Capsule Monster coin machine, which seems to be popular these days. Yugi decides to get in line and try out the machine, and as he tries it out, the machine gets jammed. Suddenly frustrated, Yugi shakes the machine and the store owner comes and yells at him. During this time, the Capsule Monster Chess champion Mokuba Kaiba arrives at the scene, and then confronts Yugi, telling him that he is in fact Kaiba's brother, who Yugi had beaten in a duel in a previous chapter of the manga. Then suddenly, Mokuba gets his mob to pull out both a gun and a taser, and a knife, and then kidnaps him, and then they bring him to his warehouse, forcing him to play a game of Capsule Monsters, and if he refuses, they'll burn his house down. Also, Mokuba tries to get Dark Yugi out by telling his mob to break the puzzle, which works, and gets a really pissed off version of Dark Yugi out, leaving everyone else in the room cowering in fear, except for Mokuba. Mokuba states that in this game, instead of using their own collection of Capamon, they will be using the Capamon lottery machine from earlier. However, in true Yu-Gi-Oh fashion, this machine was rigged in Mokuba's favor, which gave Mokuba high-level monsters, while Dark Yugi got low-level monsters that were weak. Also, before the game begins, Mokuba says that this game needs a danger element in order to make the game interesting, which Dark Yugi does agree with. So Mokuba wagers Dark Yugi's finger, while Dark Yugi wagers a game of punishment against Mokuba. And with that, the game begins. The game begins with both players revealing their side of the fields. Mokuba states that Yugi's board looks pathetic compared to his and that this game will be easy to win. And so Mokuba starts advancing his monsters towards Yugi's side of the field. Mokuba starts attacking one of his units with his stronger pieces, destroying them in the process. But in this overwhelming disadvantage, Dark Yugi still looks confident, and Mokuba seems surprised by this, so he asks him why. And Dark Yugi explicitly tells Mokuba about the rules of gaming, where the first rule is where you always have to act like you have the upper hand no matter what. And the second rule is where you have to always keep your cool no matter what. And with this, Yugi moves the strongest level 4 unit up, attacking that unit to one of Mokuba's level 4 units, destroying both monsters in the process. With Mokuba thinking that he'll win this game no matter what, he starts moving his other monsters up, destroying all of Yugi's monsters in the process. And as Yugi's second to last monster is defeated, Yugi points out something to Mokuba, and he tells him to specifically look at the positions of the monsters on his side of the field. And behold, all of his monsters are lined up diagonally, and in the corner of the field lies a monster named Torrigan. Torrigan is a level 2 monster with way too many weaknesses, but it has one special ability, and that special ability is the ability to one-shot any monster in a diagonal attack, once per game. With Mokuba realizing his mistake, Yugi sends Torrigan against all 4 of Mokuba's monsters, destroying them instantly. And with Mokuba losing all of his monsters, Yugi wins the game. And as this happens, Yugi says that the last rule of gaming is to always hold your trump card until the end. So now I hope that this showed just how cool of a concept Capsule Monster Chess is. And that game you just saw? That was only the tip of the iceberg, because as you already know, this is a video based off a video game that adapts Capsule Monster Chess into a tangible form of media. And here we are, diving into Yu-Gi-Oh's first video game, Yu-Gi-Oh Monster Capsule Breed and Battle. Breed and Battle is a game that had only released in Japan, meaning that the game was never translated to English. But thankfully, technology has come far enough that Google Translate and a Japanese wiki was all I needed to get a grasp on this game's mechanics. True to its name, Breed and Battle is separated into 2 main modes, Breed Mode and Battle Mode. where in Breed mode, you'll raise Capamon and level them up in order to hopefully evolve them into stronger forms. And Battle mode is where you battle your opponent with the various monsters you have collected and raised from Breed mode. Since this game is based on Capsule Monster chests, it takes elements from chests that you might be familiar with, such as having each piece having their own unique type of movement as one example. Also, each monster has their own level, race, and type associated with that piece, where level determines the amount of time some monsters can use their special ability a turn, race determines their movement types such as bird types that can move diagonally, plant types that can move in a checkerboard pattern, and water types that can move horizontally and on water, and type which follows a rock paper scissors style system, where guts beats over cool, cool beats over intelligence, and intelligence beats over guts. Also, as mentioned before, each monster has their own special ability that can turn the tide of battle, such as Torrigan, which has his high damage diagonal attack, or Taihon that can attack up to a range of 4 spaces. In this game, unlike the manga, you'll be choosing a team of 6 Capamon that'll fight for you in battle, which is one more than the manga, but the 6 Capamon will be randomly chosen to be put inside a golden egg. The golden egg acts like a king piece that if destroyed, will lose you the game, which means that some of the flaws of chess, like stalling, are now solved here, because each player now has an objective to defend, which increases the game's intensity. Also like chess, you can only perform one action per turn, meaning that attacking could even be risky, because moving up means that you leave your monster in enemy lines, and retreating could be even more costly as you could waste a turn doing so. Also, once you've won a battle in this game, you can trade one of your monsters for one of your opponent's monsters. So if there was a unit that your opponent had that was really good, you can take it from them and add it to your team. Alright, there's also this one novelty I forgot to mention that this game has. If you've noticed when this game was released and when Season 0 aired, this game also included a little something for hardcore fans like myself. And what I'm talking about is obviously this.
さあ、ゲームの時間だ。モンスターを育てる。行くぞ、バトル。プレイステーションソフト、Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster Capsule, Breed and Battle.
Everyone from Season 0 is voicing their characters here. If you're a fan of Season 0 like me, you'll be in for a treat, as this game uses the original voice actors all the way back from 1998. Breed and Battle's main goal is quite simple, to collect powerful monsters and battle with them. But where the hell do you get these monsters? Well actually, there's 2 main ways. The first way you already know is by trading one of your weaker monsters for one of your opponent's stronger monsters by trading. And the second way is to breed them. Breed mode is where you'll train your monsters in order to level them up and get them stronger. You'll have infinite starter eggs, and each starter egg will hatch into one of the 6 different starter Capamon, which will determine what race they're in, such as the bird race or the water race. And before each egg hatches, you'll be able to influence its starting stats by pressing buttons on your controller. And once they've hatched, you get to take care of your monster, feed them, and also make them happy. Otherwise, they'll get mad at you and jump off the map. In breed mode, you can train up to 6 Capamon at a time, and you can combine the training areas together. And if they love each other, they'll maybe make a rare egg, or they'll kill each other. And trust me, it's a grind. You'll be tossing all sorts of things at them over and over again, hoping that their stats rise. And for me, it was just a straight feed them, throw a ball to calm them down, throw a dumbbell to raise their attack, over and over at them. After a few days of training, your monster will be able to evolve into a monster of the same race. And once your Capamon are leveled up and evolved, you can take them out and take them to battle and go through this game's story mode. So, the game does indeed have a story mode, each with battles that progressively get harder, although it is labeled as a story mode. It is better to call it a sequence of battles against 8 opponents, due to the lack of elements to define a story mode. And in story mode, each character has their own unique gimmicks to them, and each one is associated with a different battlefield. And we'll start off with this game's first opponent, Little Yugi.
君もモンスターを育てているんだね。僕のモンスターと勝負しようよ。
Little Yugi is the first opponent in the game, and he boasts a pretty strong starting team right out of the gate. The game throws all of its punches at you, and it'll literally come at you and say, go back to breed mode and come back with a better team. That's right, the first character of this game is that hard. This game has no tutorials or anything to hold your hand. It'll even bait you with this default team that you should never use, because all those Capamon in that team are all bad. Unlike the manga, where you can pull some miracle out of nowhere, levels are more akin to an RPG since it's a breeding game, and not a capsule collecting game. So stats do actually matter here. As for Little Yugi, just bring in a fully bred team for breed mode and his team stands no chance. The only notable monster in his team is Torrigan, and that can easily be dealt with good monster placement. One major way to collect monsters in this game that I actually forgot to mention was fusion, which I tested a lot during this battle. Basically, when one monster hops onto another monster, they'll both fuse into a different monster. One interesting thing about this is that if you've named your monsters, the name will fuse as well, making for some really interesting combinations. And as a person who's lost many times to Little Yugi trying to figure out this game's mechanics, I can tell you that this battle definitely does its job. It'll make you want to go back into breed mode and get a better team so that you can finally beat him. And that's exactly how I felt during my battles with Little Yugi. But since Little Yugi is the first opponent of the game, he is also the easiest opponent in the game to fight as well, as everyone else moving on is a lot harder than Little Yugi. Jounouchi, also known as Joey Wheeler in Duel Monsters, is the second opponent of the game. Jounouchi's battle takes place on an elevated battlefield, where one side has a height advantage over the other, with his being higher. As the game's second opponent, he was also giving a team a better monster stat-wise, but in terms of practical use, his team is worse than Little Yugi's. But that just might be from my experience, since I personally found it easier to beat Jounouchi than Little Yugi. It also might be because I had a well-bred team, I had Little Yugi's Torrigan that I stole from him last game, and I also had a grasp on the game mechanics. Apparently in this game, his ace monster is the Fiddler Crab King. His description is that it has huge scissors, it's the king of Fiddler Crabs, it fights with the Crab King over who is the real king. Oh, so yeah, this monster isn't his best monster. It's a level 1 monster he has that's named Red Scorpy. Although it doesn't really work on me, because it only works against low level monsters, Red Scorpy has the ability to possibly one-shot enemies 4 spaces away from it. Although I'm not exactly sure what implication this one-shot has, I'm pretty sure it only works against low level Capamon. So since all my guys were like level 4 or 5 when I fought him, this was pretty much a breeze. And yeah, Jounouchi is an extremely easy opponent, so I didn't spend too much time on him. Anzu, otherwise known as Taya Gardner, is the third opponent of Breed and Battle. Across the board, her whole team is quite weak, but their attack values are all high. Also, this board is the first board to introduce water tiles to the game. And because of this map is tightly spaced, which makes it hard for units with limited movement to move around in this map. Also, Anzu has a monster called the Holy Elf, otherwise known as Mystical Elf and Duel Monsters. In Duel Monsters, she was a 2000 defense normal monster wall. In this game, she has the ability to slash the attack power of every unit on the board. This is Anzu's main gimmick, and the main strategy she has is to reduce your attack power and try to get to your egg with other weak units that can't do a lot of damage, but they all have high movement. And because of this, I almost lost my first playthrough of the game, because their units are really fast and I couldn't do much about them as they were attacking my egg. Otherwise, her units were still super weak and they can easily be two-shot by a well-bred team. Something I found really interesting is that someone actually beat the game with the starter set of Capamon, which is really interesting to me, because I thought this was impossible, but apparently it is, as those types of teams remind me of just how Dark Yugi plays in the manga, by using a weaker team and then using good strategy in order to outwit their opponent, which in all is pretty interesting to me. So I'm pretty happy to have seen that while researching this video, because that's something I'll never do. So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat and was worth a quick mention at least. None of Anzu's units were interesting enough to take, and her team was the weakest overall. This battle was just a breeze to go through, and it was incredibly easy compared to the other opponents in the game. Mokuba is the fourth opponent you will face in the game. He bolsters a pretty strong team right out of the gate, as he has 3 high level monsters on his team, with one being level 5 and the other 2 being level 4 monsters. One of Mokuba's monsters is named Bigfoot, and Bigfoot is probably his strongest monster, with an extremely high HP stat and a high attack stat. He can do massive damage to your weaker units, and he also has this really strong punch attack that can do high damage to any unit in the game. But Bigfoot isn't Mokuba's best unit, as there is another unit on Mokuba's team which is just as good, and that is the Skull. The Skull doesn't have high stats or anything for that matter, but it is a level 4 monster with one good ability, and that ability is to resurrect dead units. And this means he can revive Bigfoot, meaning that we have to deal with it twice instead of once, which can spell big trouble, as that one monster is Mokuba's strongest unit and it is level 5, meaning it has extremely good stats. So if you don't have a really good team that you bred in breed mode, then this thing will become a problem for your team, as this thing can pretty much shred any low level unit that it gets its hands on. Also, as for the field, there are 2 sides directly opposite to each other, with an elevated field, and there are 2 extremely small gaps that monsters can fit through to get to the other side. This makes monsters to have extremely limited movement. This is advantageous here, as everything in this map is a chokehold point. One thing though is that Torrigan is incredibly good on this map, because the diagonal lane lines up perfectly with his ability. While editing, I just realized that this is the same exact field as the one in the manga during Death T. What a cool little Easter egg. This is the same one. And also, now that I realize it, the first one is also the same one as the one in the manga chapter from earlier. Damn, that's pretty cool. But yeah, when I got the Mokuba, this is the point in the game where I had to decide to go back into breed mode to get better monsters, because my team was too weak compared to his. But after a rough battle with him with a newly bred team, and using Torrigan's ability and range attacks with other Capamon, I was able to beat Mokuba. And I can say, if you ever get to this battle, be careful.
君の噂は聞いていますよ。ユウギ君に勝ったそうじゃないですか。ぜひ僕と勝負してください。
Finally reaching the halfway point, Bakura is the 5th opponent in the game. One weird thing is that this Bakura isn't the evil one, it's the chill one. This is probably because Capsule Monsters isn't tied to Yami Bakura's character, which makes sense. Bakura's battlefield is on a river with mountains on it, with the river separating both sides of the field. Moving on from this point, every monster is level 4 or higher, and all of Bakura's monsters are level 4 with the exception of this guy. This one is named Pinker. It's a level 5 monster with extremely high movement, but it's got one bad weakness. Its health stat is way too low for any level 5 monster in the game. Each time I fought this thing on my playthrough, it was never a threat, and its ability is only good for completionists, because its ability is to locate rare eggs on the map, which isn't good for battle at all. And that's an ability another monster already has. But the other monsters in Bakura's team are notable for their remarkable talents, such as Hunter Whale, which is the first unit I've seen in this game that can move on water, and Blue Scissors, that can outright just heal the golden egg, making it impossible to target the golden egg until that monster is dead first. And finally, there's this thing. It's unremarkable except for the fact that it hits hard, and damn, it's got hands. Even though it has the highest attack stat on its team, and I still have no idea what ability this fucking question mark thing has. I swear to God, I will never figure this out, and someone please explain this to me because I do not know. But honestly, Bakura is definitely easier to beat than Mokuba, but is a hard character overall. That's just because his team is weaker overall. But if it were me, I would have switched Bakura and Mokuba around, because Bakura is definitely easier than Mokuba in this game. And I wish they gave Bakura a harder team because this was just easy, and that's all it was. Easy.
なかなかいい腕をしておるようじゃな。一つわしと手合わせ願えるかの。では。
Sugoroku, also known as Grandpa Muto in Duel Monsters, is the 6th opponent of Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monsters Breed and Battle. Sugoroku's team consists of 4 level 5 monsters, which all have really high stats and various abilities supported by the battlefield. Speaking of the battlefield, it's a desert-like terrain with rocks positioned in such a way to prevent units from crossing easily, and the other side feels like a loop with some rocks in the middle. The high parameters of all the Capsule here make this an incredibly hard battle. I had trouble during my first playthrough when I fought Sugoroku. So basically, his weakest monster, Wise Man, is a monster that forces Capsule to go to sleep, which isn't that problematic because it could be killed easily. It's all the other monsters that are a problem. There's their Bomb, which is an incredibly tanky monster that does a lot of damage to attackers. There's Boil Man, that can one-shot any monster with a lower level 1 space away. And there's Blue Head, which can shoot ice from a range. And finally, the best one of them all, the Great Paw. And I know what you're thinking right now. This unit is very familiar to you, and that's because it was in a manga chapter in this very video, way earlier. So basically, this thing has the ability to block attacks with a shield. It's a percentage chance, but it's a passive ability, and it's really annoying to go against. In my first playthrough, this thing managed to 1v4 my entire team by blocking every single attack, and this thing managed to sneak around and destroy my own egg while fighting all 4 of my monsters, and that's what I realized. The AI in this game is smart for its time. It knew how to outplay you, and it even knew how to place its own monsters to screw you over. It's actually pretty smart, and all I can say is, I'm impressed and also scared. And that's just because of how the AI got me really good here. And I'm not looking forward towards what the other 2 opponents in this game have.
なかなか強いモンスターを手に入れたようだ。だが僕の前では全て無駄だよ。ここで勝負を決めようじゃ。僕が先行だ。陣地は君に決めさせてやろう。
Green-haired Kaiba is the second last opponent in this game. Taking from his Season 0 counterpart, this Kaiba is green hair, rather than the brown-haired version you might be used to. This is why I refer to him as green-haired Kaiba. This battlefield is separated into 2 sides, with a small river in between, and 2 corners that monsters can cross through, one being the mountain side, and the other just being a really small landmass. Green-haired Kaiba is a hard opponent, for one reason and only one reason. He has the all-powerful blue-eyes white dragon on his team. And yes, this thing is no joke. It's a serious monster that has a serious ability and serious stats, so I have to be careful. Or I could just do this. Oh, I can get a hit on the blue eyes? Oh shit, fuck that. Let's attack the blue eyes. Oh shit, let's kill it. This Tyhone is in such a good spot. Oh my god. I'm just gonna suicide bomb your whole board. Let's go! It might be the only Yu-Gi-Oh monster in this game other than Tyhone, but I'll show you that Tyhone is the superior monster to Blue Eyes White Dragon. A level 4, a 1400 attack normal monster can beat a 3000 attack. Whatever. Let's go! Burst the stream! Woo! We killed it. That was so easy. We just killed the Blue Eyes just like that. Murdered. Yeah, so that was anticlimactic. His best monster was just gone like that in my first playthrough, and so that was actually like pretty lame. And the rest of his monsters were really easy to defeat as well. So I was pretty disappointed with this fight. But let's just say there was a world I decided not to cheese the Blue Eyes with my Taihon. Then actually this fight would be hard. I'm not even joking about Blue Eyes. This thing is actually really fucking good. So basically, it can shoot a fire breath in proximity to 3 spaces. But this fire breath does so much damage, it'll practically kill any weak unit. And it can 2-shot most units in this game. And Blue Eyes' stats are incredibly high as well. I've seen people strategize in the Japanese wiki about making like a dark dragon in order to fight the Blue Eyes White Dragon, because this thing is really difficult to deal with. And I can tell, because anything that even gets close to Blue Eyes gets hurt like bad. So I can understand why the rest of his monsters are weak, but damn. But yeah, in my experience, Kaiba might have been easier than Sugoroku, but that was just because of the ranged units I had, because those things are pretty good in raid and battle. But I can understand if other people had problems fighting Kaiba. So, there's one more thing I have to tell you. This whole time, I've been lying to you about something. I've said that this game is labeled as a story mode and has no cutscenes, but actually, it has one, and I don't even know what to say.
まさかお前ごときにこの俺のモンスターが破れるとは。だが忘れるなよ。たとえ俺に勝っても遊戯にはもう一人の遊戯には勝てまい。もう一人の遊戯に勝たなければ最強は名乗れないぞ。
やるじゃないか。まさかここまで来るとはね。どう？俺とゲームしようぜ。フィールドはこいつを使おう。これから先行で行くぜ。
Dark Yugi is the final boss of the game. Bolstering a fully stacked team of level 5 monsters, this game brings out its fullest right out of the gate. The battlefield is a symmetrical field on both sides, with both sides being identical to each other. With Dark Yugi's Armosaurus that can do a diagonal attack and cause chaos, to his Hyper Beetle with its free range of movement and high stats and his horn attack, Dark Yugi is definitely a tough opponent for fully stacked teams. Dark Yugi has many powerful monsters as well, as he's also got Lossily, which can steal life from opponents' monsters, and Gigaton with his Giga Thunder ability. Every single monster on his team has high stats, and this battle is hard. You know what's crazy? When he sends his Armosaurus right away to cause chaos and heavily damage the team with only just one monster. Each monster in this battle feels like it's a battle. If any Capamon are bad here, they will suffer tremendously in this battle, as each monster feels like it's been raised to its fullest on his team. So it's imperative that good strategy is used in order to beat him, as even getting to his golden egg is difficult because you'll have to fight through all of his monsters in order to win, because each monster of his holds their own. In my personal experience, I've lost to Dark Yugi, and on my second time, I had barely beat him, and that was only because of the broken Blue Eyes White Dragon that I had stolen from Kaiba, which had single-handedly hard carried me through the entire battle. But I would love to say as a side note, as I played through this battle, the music for this battle was epic. Another fun fact is that this track and Kaiba's theme were passed down along the line in Yu-Gi-Oh games. And I'm just gonna say one thing, for each second that I played this battle, I just had fun. It was super fun, and it was so worth it. This battle is like a treat for every person that likes Season 0 Yugi, as he's just a great opponent, and I just love fighting. I might just be showing for content here, but I'm dead serious. I just like this battle so much that I just can't forget it. This battle had me on my toes the whole time. With just how Dark Yugi plays and how he layouts his field, it makes it really hard for me to even move my monsters up, as this team is just deadly all by itself. And that's just what scares me about this character. If it wasn't for Blue Eyes, I would have been way more screwed in this battle. And I'm not gonna lie, I prefer Season 0 Yugi's voice actor over the original one in the Japanese anime. And that's just because I just like how it portrays his character more. So seeing him in this battle in this game just made me feel so happy. I don't think I'll ever get to see them play this role again. So down the line, I might come back here one day and fight him once again with like the basic team. I was so happy that I got to fight Dark Yugi like this, and I'll never get to experience the same thing again. And as you beat Dark Yugi, you are awarded with this final cutscene.
ゲームオーバーか。俺に勝ったのは君が初めてだぜ。驚いたな。まさかこんなにも実力をつけていたとはね。だが次に戦う時は負けないぜ。今度はもっと強いモンスターを育てて挑戦するぜ。君も油断してると友達に負けるかもしれないぜ。じゃあな、またどこかで会おうぜ。
Goodbye, Dark Yugi. And goodbye, Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monsters Breed and Battle. So yeah, that was Breed and Battle story mode, and I thought it was pretty good. But before this video is wrapped up, I've got one other portion to show you. As you know, I didn't just play this game once, I played through it 3 times. And you might ask me why, but I'm gonna tell you the reason right now. It's because Dark Yugi has a special monster that's pretty iconic to the series on the 3rd playthrough of story mode. And so I decided to go to Breed mode, get a rabbit, and go through story mode again. Which was a breeze because my team was far better during the 2nd playthrough and the 3rd playthrough. And I managed to steal 2 more Kaiba's Blue Eyes White Dragons, making this monstrosity of a team. And you might ask me, what's this mysterious monster, IceshadeComets? It's actually simple. It's Zork. The same one from the Monster World arc, Zork makes its appearance here as an Easter egg. And let me tell you, even with 3 copies of Blue Eyes on my team, Zork is incredibly strong. He's got a Whirlpool Catastrophe ability that can hurt everyone in near proximity, and his stats are extremely high. So this version of Dark Yugi is the most difficult as his team is even better with Zork on his side of the field. But at that point, a fully stacked team can hold their own against Zork. After beating Zork, I finally have the right to say, I've beaten Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster Capsule, Breed and Battle. Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster Capsule Breed and Battle is a special game to me, because it definitely capsule monsters to its purest form. This game has over 100 monsters to collect, with each one having their own unique ability and personalities. And as some got transfers to dual monsters, the rest are exclusive only to this game, which is kinda sad, but I will return to this game one day to collect them all, because even though I'm not a completionist, I will replay games I like playing. And this game is no exception to that. One thing I regret and will never really get to try out is doing the linked battles. This game is probably built upon the concept that both players bring their own Capamon in with their memory cards and then battle with them. And that concept of having a game with each other with your very own Capamon can make the battles way more interesting than in story mode. That actually relates to one complaint I have about this game. Once you've been in this game once, nothing really changes. It's the same thing. They never really take the opportunity to change the monsters in the teams, even though the game dialogue literally tells us to challenge them again. And the only monster that actually even changes is Zork. And that happens every 3 times you play through the story mode, making this incredibly sad. Even in free battle, they don't even change their monsters. You can only change the arenas. Also, if you don't like grindy and hard games, don't play this game because breed mode is incredibly grindy. And don't worry, if that starves you off from playing this game other than the language barrier, I don't blame you. Because damn, breed mode is a pretty harsh grind. Other than that, this game is awesome. It was so much fun to play, and I definitely won't be forgetting this masterpiece of a game. Thanks for waiting for this video everyone, and thanks for watching.